Think locally. Our aim here isn't to reproduce Newton's derivation of Kepler's laws, but to highlight the philosophical differences between two approaches to planetary dynamics, and therefore to physics more broadly. Kepler tells us that planets move in ellipses and say certain things about the speed at which they move. To describe an orbit as an ellipse is to make a global statement in the sense that it refers to the trajectory as a whole. We wait for the planet to make one entire revolution around the sun, at which point we can verify that it really did move in an ellipse. While Newton reached the same conclusion, his procedure is very different. The starting point is now local in time. All of the relevant information is presented at a single moment. You tell me where the planet is, what its velocity is, and what forces are acting on it, all at some particular time. Then Newton's second law tells me the acceleration the planet is feeling at the same moment in time. From this, we can extrapolate the entire behavior at other times. That's the Laplacian paradigm in action. Newton's developed it, but Laplace emphasized its philosophical significance, and other researchers such as William Rowan Hamilton introduced significant upgrades to the idea. The Laplacian paradigm holds that all the information we need to determine what will happen to the system or what did happen to it in the past is contained in the state of the system at each moment in time. For a simple system like planets and the sun, the state is simply fixed by the positions and the velocities of each component. You might protest that we also need to know the forces acting on the planets, and indeed we do. But those forces are determined by the position and velocities of the other parts of the system. So if you have the positions and velocities of not just one planet, but everything in the solar system, you are ready to go. To complete this program, there are two big things we need to be able to do. First, we keep talking about the rate of change of various quantities. Velocity is the rate of change of position, acceleration is the rate of change of velocity. What do we mean by that, and how do we calculate it? If you take a journey from one location to another, you can figure out your average speed simply by dividing the total distance traveled by the time you spend traveling. But here we want the instantaneous velocity, and likewise the instantaneous acceleration at each moment of time. That's not given by dividing any finite distance by any finite time. We will have to be cleverer. The other big thing is that, assuming we know the initial position, velocity, and acceleration, we want to build them up to construct the entire journey. In other words, we want to construct the accumulated distance we traveled from the rate at which we were traveling at each moment. Again, in the simplifying case where we travel at a strictly constant velocity, it would be easy enough to simply multiply velocity by the time of travel to get the distance we traverse. But if we speed up or slow down along the way, or we turn to move in different directions, things are going to get trickier. These two questions, what is the instantaneous rate of change of some quantity, and how do we accumulate quantities over time, are precisely the subject of calculus. In math lingo, they are called derivatives and integrals respectively. Time to roll up our sleeves.